Why are you laughing?
Why am I laughing? Well, now
Yes.
you're being recorded laughing. Because welcome to the Midweek Howl, the non-paranormal part of the From the Shadows podcast. See, it's not fair. You can see
Hold on a
me
second.
and I
You
can't
asked.
see
I
you.
wasn't laughing. You were laughing.
I know, but you can see me and I can't see you.
You don't need to see me because I don't laugh. I'm a straight man.
You're the straight. Thought I was the straight man.
Mm-mm.
Uh,
You're the color commentator.
so welcome back after a week of. So we couldn't, I apologize to everybody last week. We couldn't do it. We were coming off of,
I'm still sick.
well, you got your tooth. You had to go to the dentist.
Oh my God, that was a terrible experience.
Well, what the heck? What happened? Can you talk about it?
I don't even know how to. I don't even know how to unwind this layer of onion. You know what I'm saying? I don't even know how to unwind it.
You
Okay,
don't.
let me dial it back. Let me dial it back to
Okay.
whenever I was going to retire in Minnesota. I knew I wasn't going to stay in Minneapolis. I was going to move back to the country of South Central Missouri. And one of the big things is my insurance. There's a lot of places in network up there, right? For my dental and mainly for my dental more than anything, dental and vision stuff. Anyway, where I thought I was going to move in it, I ended up moving. I got a dentist in my hometown, and I didn't move there. I moved 45 miles away, but I worked there most days. Okay. The problem, the thing that I didn't realize because I had went from a nice affluent Southwest Minneapolis suburb down here to the working man state is one of the key things that they take when they take federal insurance. They also take Medicaid, Medicare. So some of the people that you're in the dentist with are salt of the earth. Okay.
Yeah.
And I had actually started there. I found one here by my house, and I was only able to go to it once or twice. I took my oldest son there, and he said, "Dad, I'd rather join the Marine Corps and get the military dentist than go back there." So,
It was that bad.
well, it's not the dentist wasn't bad. It was when you're sitting in the lobby. I mean, you
It's
got Ruth from Ozark there with about 7 kids,
yeah, okay.
and 15 ex-husbands running cigarettes, and they get shitty with the receptionist when they say you can't smoke in there, and so
You
I
can't
I
smoke him.
changed dentists. I changed dentist to the one in the big city there where I grew up, and I thought it'd be a little better, and it's not. It's just there's more of them. So there's some days I wheel in there, and yeah, I guess they have a deal for like group homes, right? So sometimes there's a short bus full of speds going in there to get their, 40-year-old dudes with pacifiers or are stuffed animals and shit, with their caretaker. You
Yeah,
know what I'm saying?
yeah.
And it's just a circus. The problem with that is the people that work there get used to dealing with the circus. So I was getting a crown, and the crown back in September, from September 29th, and I got in now April 22nd or whatever. Okay. So,
Yep. Excuse me.
so there was, now remember, this is in network, right? There's the whole purpose of me going there is in network. So they say you need a crown. We're going to submit this to your insurance, see what you're going to pay. There's going to be a copay. We're going to want a deposit, blah, 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 whatever. And, well, I wait, and September turns to October, turns to November, turns to December, and my tooth kind of hurt. And she asked me that day back in September, "Does this bother you?" And I said, "No." She said, "Well, this looks like it's an old filling you must have had when you were a kid because it was silver mercury, whatever they used to put. Probably not mercury, but whatever they used to put.
Whatever, yeah.
You know what I mean? Lead,
It's
cobalt,
probably mercury. It's probably
so,
mercury.
anyway, uh, yeah, but they seal it with a lead film so it doesn't hurt you. Anyhow, I call the dentist and they say, "Hey, I've been waiting for 3 months, and it's about to be Thanksgiving, a trifecta of Thanksgiving, Christmas, and my birthday and New Year. You know what I mean? I'm going to eat like a fat hog for about 6 weeks here. Okay.
And
So
you want to be able to do it.
I don't want to get jacked up with some bad tooth, right? If I want to kill myself one bite at a time, I'm going to do it. Right.
Yes. Yeah.
I get this snooty little girl, and me and you are now at the age that I look down at all these young punks that my shoes are older than them when they're telling me, well, we submitted to your insurance. It's on your insurance thing. And I said, well, I'm in first of all, I'm in network. It should be on your screen right there. Nope. We're waiting for them. You need to call them. I said, do you need to call my insurance? Nope. You need to call them. So I call my insurance and they say, we never received it. So I call them back. Nope. They got it, So I said, they want you to resubmit it. Okay, I'll resubmit it. Well, another 3 weeks go by or whatever. I call the insurance up and I call them, the dentist, and they say, it's the same snotty girl. And she says, I'm still waiting. We haven't received nothing, and you've had me send it twice. So I call the insurance up, and of course, the insurance, you can't call Blue Cross Blue Shield, right? When I'm on the website, you know what I mean? It keeps giving me this little pop-up window that I keep trying to X out of, you know what I mean? My virtual assistant, whatever. So finally I click on that. Okay, virtual assistant, how can we help you? And then it took me 2 or 3 things to formulate my message, but I formulated it in a way within 2 or 3 messages, I went from AI to at least some Pakistani India girl wanting to help me, And she said, well, yes, we have it, but we need to see this x-ray. They need to submit their x-ray. We replied back within 12 hours of them sending it to me last week, blah, blah, blah. So I call this snotty girl back and I say, hey, you need to resubmit my x-ray. And she said, I don't need to submit nothing because we're waiting on them and it's up to them. And I'm just like, dude, if Sam Walton would have been out of fucking business if this is the way he took care of his customers. So finally I hung up on her and I called back. And, it's prompted 1 for appointments, 2 for billing. What I hit 2 for billing. And I got some old, because when you come with money, the oldest people in the office are the ones handling the money.
Well, of course, they should be.
And I get a gal and she said, oh, yeah, hold on, Jeff. I can see it. Yeah. Huh. You're right. We do need to send this. I'll do it right now. Hold on. Boom, 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 boom. And she said, check your Blue Cross and your dental. So I'm dual insured because that's the life this podcast has given me. And you, the listeners, have given me. Anyway, within 6 couple hours, it was on my window. I could see, and then I was able to call back and finally get in. But I wasn't able to get in because I got the same snotty girl that was the appointment girl. Like 4 days go by. The old woman says, hey, you give us 72 hours and just call back in and you won't have a bit of problems. You know what I mean? Because they send it, I'm answering, they're going to send it back. This is easy. We do it, 50 times a day. So I give her 72 hours. Like it's sure enough, it's all in there. It's approved. So I call Snotty and she says, well, and this is in January. Okay. This is. Oh, yeah, I done missed Christmas and shit. Yes, I done missed Christmas. Oh, yeah.
I was thinking like you called her last week.
Oh, God, no. I mean, this is a saga, right? And this fat ass Ozempic dentist of mine didn't have the heart to think, how come it took you from September 29th to April 22nd to get in there? You know what I mean? So she's a plus size woman that used to be very loud and jovial. You know how some of them are. But then she got on the Ozempic this last year, and now she's
serious and
a skinny girl. She's a skinny girl trapped in a fat girl's skin, and she's even louder. And so, needless to say, I finally got in. Because she's like in September when it started, she's like, we need to probably get on this. So the appointment girl says April 22nd. I said April 22nd. I've been waiting for since September. Yeah, well, that's the first opening we got. Sorry. So I ain't shitting you. 2 hours before my appointment, my tooth breaks. The effective tooth breaks.
Well, it's a good thing.
So I go in.
You didn't need it fixed until then.
Jovial dentist.
Okay.
This jovial dentist is like, she talked. Well, first they put this gal. I walk in there and they put me. I got an old gal that checks me in, sets me in the chair, takes my vitals, and I'm like, my vitals. Because I don't know, man. Because I'm like, holy shit, this must be a deal. And then I'm looking up at that mirror. There's like a light with a mirror.
Yeah.
Thing. And I'm looking up, and it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I feel like I'm Santa Claus, and the elves are marching in, and it's all these girls in these state junior college smocks.
So they're like,
filing in behind me, like they're going to watch. Does that make sense? So they got me facing this wall, and I'm laid back. And if it wouldn't have been from the reflection, I wouldn't have realized that they're all here, right?
mm,
Now I've got a cough. I've been sick for 3 weeks. Who knows what I got? Long COVID, triple COVID,
yep.
walking COVID, double pneumonia. Who
So
knows?
I feel like it's what I feel like now. Yeah.
So I try to clear my throat a little bit before they put all this stuff on my lip to get ready for the needle. You know how that works.
Yeah.
They come back and give me the needle, and the stuff they put on my lip was good. So they give me the needle in. I'm good to go. So Jolly Green Giant comes in there, kicks me back, and the old gal that's seated me steps back, and one junior college girl steps up.
Oh boy.
And I'm thinking, okay, I'm trying not to be too shitty because my little girl's gonna start junior college next year, for
Mhm.
occupational therapy or something shit like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Maybe maybe who knows?
They gotta get
So
training somehow.
they give her all she's there for is the suction, the little suction thing.
Okay. Yeah.
And they start and the first thing she does, it's got like a hook on it.
Hmm.
It's hooked, and she sets it right on the bottom of my mouth underneath my tongue. And it was like a vacuum cleaner trying to suck my heart out through my
The bottom of your tongue.
jaw. Yes. So the dentist says, "Hey, just raise your hand if something hurts." And I raise my hand. She goes, "I haven't." She gets kind of defensive. "I haven't even started yet." I said, "Well, you ain't the one that hurting me. It's this damn suction pipe on me." Well, I guess then the little girl pulled it out and got spooked because then the old woman came back in. You know what I mean? So they all flushed like a covey of quail, and I guess they realized that this guy is not,
You're
what I
not
mean,
the
not a
guy.
good fit, not a good fit for for what they thought
Class.
it was. Yeah,
Huge
go back
class.
to the short bus kids or something in there. You know what I mean? So she's like, "Well, this thing broke," and I said, "Yeah, it broke about 2 hours ago. You're only 7 months too late." And and
I say you got your money's worth out of
at
it.
some point in
That's what
there,
you got.
at some point in there, she's done all kinds of work, and she keeps saying, "You need a break." And I said, "No, let's just fight through this," because she wanted me to calendar 2 hours for this thing. So I took all the rest of the day off.
Hmm.
So I get to the point where she says, "We're almost done," and she's sitting there with her index finger in my mouth like I'm a trophy bass, and she's pulled. She's. I can't even tell you. She just got me hooked with her for some reason. She's got her finger in there, push it up with a piece of gauze on my tooth.
The one that you're getting the crown put on.
Yes, the one she's been grinding on.
Oh God.
And she's sitting there, and I got a cough. And I'm trying to explain to her, "Hey, I need to cough. I'm getting some drainage here. You got me laid back here, you know." And they keep sucking the wrong side. So like all this, I thought it was, I got all this drainage on one side, and they're not sucking that side, they're sucking the dry side. Because gravity works even at the dentist, and it goes to the lower end. So finally, I'm starting to sit up, and she's like trying to hold me down with this fucking tube, and I got a bite block on my left side, big old piece of rubber like tire. And I popped that bite block out into my left hand by myself. I just spit it out my tongue, and I said, "I need to cough." And I guess when I did that, I bit her finger. So she recoils back. And I go in this coughing thing. And she's like, I said, "Sorry." She's like, "I'm okay." And her and these other girls run out. And now I'm by myself in there. And I just stood up and I walked over and started spitting the sink. I realized I'm bleeding like a motherfucker. I'm sorry, you're going to cut that. I'm bleeding. So I just spit in the sink because I don't even have a suction girl because I even ran that new one off,
Are you bleeding from the dentistry or because the bite on her finger?
No, I'm bleeding from this tooth. And I didn't realize that. And I sat back down and the old woman come in there, the older gal, and she said, "Hey," she pulls out this piece of string. And she said, "Here, I want to tell you what's going on. You're bleeding a lot." And she said, I'm going to try to pack this thing with this string.
The hole in your mouth? They're going to
Yes,
pack.
I'm going to pack it with this string. I'm going to put the string around the outside of where your tooth, the basically the outline of your tooth.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to put this giant wad of gauze in there, and I want you to bite down yourself for about 10 minutes to see if we can get the bleeding to stop. And I'm like, dude, that's so much easier. Why didn't she just do that instead of putting her fucking finger there? You know what I mean?
You have now convinced me that it's much better that we have no idea. We cannot see anything the dentist is doing in our mouth, because I think we'd all get
So
up
when
and
she
jump
held
and
this string, she
run
said,
out.
I'm going to pack this string in there around between your gum and your tooth. And I'm going to leave it. And she holds it, and she showed it to me like, you're not watching. I don't have a camera, but she's holding me a piece of string with her thumb and forefinger in one hand, about 4 inches above a piece of string, about four, and a thumb and a forefinger. And then she holds the bottom one up a little bit. There's a little tail. And she said, I'm going to leave this little tail out. And then that way, when you stop bleeding, I'll be able to pull it out.
Okay.
That makes perfect sense. So I sat there by myself with my mouth full of gauze, rethinking all my life choices. And you're texting me saying, hey, you going to be around tonight? Let's do this podcast. And I'm like, my fucking mouth is swelled up. And I don't even know if I'm going to live because,
Well, I did get a pic. I got a picture before. I got the before picture. I wish now I'd have got the after picture.
Yeah. So they come back in and they got my tooth done. You know what I mean? They put like a fake crown on there.
Okay.
And they had a thing set for like May 6th to do the other half. And I said, I'm good with that. And she said, and they said, we're going to have to change your May 6th because that's really optimistic. We're going to have to go. It's going to take about 3 weeks to get this crown in. You got anything on the 14th? And I said, no, because my daughter graduates on the 15th. I said, no. Well, then I find out I make it for the 14th. I get home that night. My wife says, hey, the senior dinner's on the 14th at 5:30. You'll probably be there before me. So just you walk in with my mom and Charlie and save me a seat in case I don't get off in time. You know what I mean? And it dawned on me,
You're getting a crown.
I'm going to have this big fat chipmunk face with blood and spit.
It's gonna be a great dinner for everybody involved, right?
You know? It's like, and
oh
that
my
was
gosh.
one 2 hour block in my life right there.
In the last couple
I don't even know how we got on that. That's 1 2 hour block in my life.
I tell you what though, like my dentist, they called me in like last September or August and said, hey, do you want to schedule your cleaning for next year? And I go, cleaning for next year? And they go, yeah, we're booked all the way up through May.
Yeah, that's why you got.
I was like, just to get my teeth cleaned. And so needless to say, I forgot all about it. So I probably vote a call this week now that you talked about this.
I just
get in for October.
For next year, I make them for next year. I don't know. I have mixed emotions about so much in life.
Well, that's pretty optimistic to think that you're even going to be around a year from now to get your teeth cleaned.
Exactly, which segues into what I was thinking. My boss sat with me the other day, and she said, well, eye insurance and dental insurance, two insurances just don't pay. It just doesn't pay to have. And I said, do what? Because I said something about her glasses. And she said, oh, no. She said, her husband's a financial advisor. And she said, well, the problem is, you're paying that premium all year for a couple of cleanings. But then when you have to have something like this crown, you still got to pay him. Like I had to pay him $440.
Holy moly.
Mm-hmm.
But
so
what would it cost without insurance though?
$1,600.
Well, I suppose if you're, I don't even know.
I cash pay my kids. I don't take them to the in network because they had Invisaligns, and I got a dentist here in town that I love. That doesn't take any insurance
because he doesn't want to mess with it.
He doesn't want to mess with them, and he's the best, and he's booked up, and you can't get in there because people with money So now, what I was researching, I guess what I'm supposed to do is when I pay my dentist bill,
Mhm.
I could theoretically turn around and give that to my insurance, and they will reimburse me a percentage of it.
Even if you don't have dental insurance?
No, if I have dental insurance, he just don't take it.
Oh, I see what you're saying. You're
You get
talking.
what I'm
Okay.
saying?
Yeah. Okay. You mean the one for your kids? Yeah.
Yes, my kids. Yes, my kids.
I think
But I don't know.
I think in our lifetime we have figured out that every type of insurance is pretty much a scam.
Yes.
Pretty much a scam. I mean,
Mhm.
and you are an insurance adjuster for
Well, that's
what?
why they're headquartered in places like Wisconsin and are run by Democrats. But anyway, let's get off the insurance.
Oh
Let's get on other
God.
things. What are we going to talk about tonight? You had a list. What was number one on
You
your
just
list?
had to get that in for Ed, didn't you?
No,
And all the and all
Ed was raised by Democrats.
see, it's why he turned out so good.
His grandpa was a Democrat committee. I mean, his grandpa helped me get my first job. His grandpa was on the county commission when I got hired as a deputy. Big Democrat.
There you go.
His uncle's first. His uncle was the first state campaign I worked on just for state rep, and he was a Democrat.
See, there's some good ones.
Uh,
Speaking of some good ones, what do you think about the Pope dying?
well, I prayed for him.
Pray for, pray for.
I'm praying for the African Pope.
You think there's going to be an African Pope?
Yeah, it's between two guys. Didn't you see that? The African and the European.
I didn't see anything because I thought they had to wait. What 12? How many days? 20
Yeah, you
days
need
or
to watch
something?
it. It was on Netflix last year, a couple years ago. Not Da Vinci. It was about the house of who built the thing Medici. You see that show?
No, I didn't.
Well, they were the Medici was one of the richest families in Italy. They were the bankers for the church.
Yeah, for the Vatican.
There's some things alleged in there that
There's there's
money and politics influenced the church in its early days. Back before now, when it got weeded out, back in the early days, apparently, if you had money and contributions, it's
you got
swayed.
special favor. Not like today where it's all
Your kids
merit
got to
based.
be that's exactly right. That's right.
My question is now, do they not elect a younger person as Pope because they don't want somebody in there for a significant number of
Yes, I
years?
think that's probably part of it. Uh-huh.
Okay. Because
And nobody's going. The only people that are steadily going into the Catholic Church now are the Africans.
oh really?
Africa's got the truest Catholics going right now.
Hmm. Okay. I did not know that. That's an
Some of my
interesting.
parishes right here. Well, my step grandpa's funeral last year. It was a Nigerian that preached it.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Now
Really?
you
So
haven't lived until you've been into a. Now this guy's 96 years old, right?
the
So you've been in.
Nigerian priest?
No, my
Oh,
step grandpa. So
okay.
you haven't lived until you've been in South Missouri in a 250-year-old Catholic church, St. Thomas, and you're so it is full of Roosevelt Democrats, a few Eisenhower Democrats, certainly Kennedy Democrats,
Hmm.
and the mass is being ran by a Nigerian. Black is as as you can get, and black is Nancy Pelosi's heart, and with a Nigerian trying to speak English with a Nigerian accent. You know what I mean? But the people love him. You know what's weird is the parishioners down there love him. He does two different churches, and they absolutely love him.
I think that would be because one of my favorite shows,
I
the
looked
Jim.
around like it was like a spoof almost. I was with my brothers in the back going, "Do we laugh now or laugh later?" Because I feel like I'm.
Well, that's the priest in the Jim Gaffigan show. Was I believe a Nigerian guy? It was fantastic because he was so jovial and enthusiastic about,
Absolutely,
and
which
it
is why.
comes and that accent brings it out, brings out the
And
love.
I was reading some articles last week when they started talking about the African Pope, uh, the potential African Pope, and I had read a few things last year at the end of this funeral because I work with a guy that's I don't want to say mega Catholic, but he's still old school Catholic, and he said,
Mm.
yeah, we've got like in this region, this area, whatever, we've got like 5 black popes now. The 2 Mexicans,
Cardinals, you
5
mean?
blacks.
Cardinal.
No, priests
Priests. Okay.
that work these parishes here. Okay, so the where I'm at here in central Missouri, they gave out land grants for the soldiers of the War of 1812. So
Okay.
if you fought for I guess they didn't have enough money, or they didn't want to borrow money back in them days. So if you fought for the U.S. Army, you could get 40 acres or up to 160 acres, depending on your rank and stuff, right? So they were giving these things out after the War of 1812 into the Missouri got a statehood in 1821. So you had guys that were getting these land grants. So there was a Catholic priest here named Father Helias, the big Catholic school's named after him, and apparently he wrote back and got money from the church to buy those land grants. So, like, if you were some dude fighting for the Ohio 4th Infantry, what are you going to do with 40 acres in Missouri, right?
He just bought it. He just
he
gave
bought
the
them
guy.
all, and then now so there's a stretch of about 3 counties there that there's literally a Catholic church every 10 or 11 miles for 90 miles up the Missouri River, and then the confluence of the Osage goes up there, and they've built these churches like where I grew up, about every 6 miles. They were some of the original ones, and it's because that's all a guy could walk. You get what I'm saying? So,
Yeah.
So if you were 6 or 7 miles apart, people on foot could walk to church.
Could get to church.
4 miles. So they need to build one every 8 miles. So you either walk to my church or your church, depending on where you're at on this lineage. Is that?
Yeah.
You follow what I'm saying?
And they owned all the land in between.
Yeah,
too?
And there's no Protestant churches. Yeah, there's a string. There's a couple Lutherans, but there's no Baptists. There's no nothing. It's Catholics. You're either Catholic or you ain't. And anyhow, where I'm going with that is apparently the reason why the church is so strong in Africa is because they have to fight the Muslims to the death. You know what I mean? So the expansion of Muslimism from Islam, from like the Horn of Africa, trying to go down in north Somalia and Kenya and all that, trying to go down there. They still kill these Christians. They take over these churches and they kill them all, right?
Yeah.
So those people that are true believers in Catholicism, they're true believers, right? Because they have to either fight them off. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they're just not going to.
They're just not picking out which one's got the best. Who's got the 5 o'clock mass so we can go out and drink afterwards, or the bowling alley's still open or whatever. Like, those people are real.
Those guys are real.
And then I guess these guys, when they cheat death, they really think that the Lord looked on them. It wasn't because the river got high or it rained the day before or something.
Isn't it? I mean, that's amazing to think about. What we consider inconveniences versus what other people in the rest of the world really have to go through.
Really have to go through, yeah. So I know that was a little deep for you. So,
wow.
So I'm praying for it. I don't think I'll get a invitation to the coronation, but if I do, I'll go.
Well, to segue from that, what'd you think of the NFL draft? The Pope died in the NFL draft, basically the same week,
hey,
right?
I was going to say, and the Black Pope didn't get chosen there either. So,
listen,
I didn't realize his brother was in it until just a while ago.
Who?
There was 2. Deion Sanders had 2 kids in the draft yesterday.
He did.
Yes, Shiloh didn't get drafted.
Oh
either.
my gosh,
There's a whole article. Hey, he got a real representation this afternoon or yesterday after his brother finally got chosen. He broke from Deion.
Did he really?
Yeah, he got an agent. He got Tommy McGuire or Tony McGuire or whoever.
Jerry McGuire. Well, listen, I read an article today. The Browns had the best draft grade. How about that? Browns had the best.
This is what I think it is. I think some people got together and talked to Browns into doing it, because if he fails, he'll be able to blame it on being at the Browns. that make sense? So they give him an out.
Well, here's what the Browns had come out and said.
Said the Browns had 4 quarterbacks or something.
They got 5.
So they just need to do 25% then.
So
each guy does 25%.
It's still not enough.
They'll have it covered.
But the Browns had made the decision they were going to go back to the basics and become a true AFC North team, which is like the Steelers and the Titans and pound, like the old school days. What's that?
Cigarettes and hairy cheerleaders.
Yeah. Terry Bradshaw and Jack Lambert. We're going to run the ball. We're going to play good defense or whatever. And they did. They had some really good picks early. And then it was as simple as Sanders in the fifth round is a steal because he was truly probably deserving to be in at least the second round. But he got caught in the situation of not many people needed quarterbacks. Even though some teams need quarterbacks, they need really good quarterbacks. And I think even though he's a above average quarterback, he's not a franchise type quarterback. Like,
I hope it works out for him. I hope he takes the Browns to the Super Bowl.
Listen, I don't care if he's the one driving the bus. If he takes him to the Super Bowl, look, I wish for a winning season. What are you talking about?
The Browns to the Super Bowl, maybe we get the Black Pope to show up. Maybe he can perform a halftime show. He could do a halftime mass and bless the Rust Belt. And J.D. Vance is coming home to save everybody.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of the From the Shadows podcast. Until next time, never shy away from the darkness or what may be lurking in the shadows. We are out.
God only knows what time